All right, the next step is dry painting. I probably have mentioned this before, but make sure you're taking care of my brushes. This one's like exploded in the center. Okay, this does not make conducive for painting if it's exploded in the center. This is from scrubbing and taking it down like this and moving it back and forth. Yeah, I know the camera's going in and out. So, um, this, see it's frayed? This kind of looks like Beaker from the Muppet Show. Beep, 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 beep. Yeah, this is not a joy to work with either. So when you're like ruining brushes, you are giving someone else a bad day. Why would you do that? Because the paint's not going to go where they want to go because I got like hairs going all over the place. I like my brushes to stay nice and neat. This one isn't too bad. It's a little frayed, a little work. You know, this one's pretty good. It's a little frayed, but still will work. This one is stiff, and if I was to assume, I would assume that someone cut off the tip of it because it's really short. So if you can see that. So I would assume that these two brushes were similar at one time, and someone decided that they put too much mousse in the hair gel in this one and decided it needed a trim. Yeah, I don't like that either. When you first lay down stuff, bigger brushes is good. Okay, but when we're painting over things and starting to fine tune it, you want smaller brushes. You want brushes about this size. You want brushes about this size. This was the other video I tried doing. What we're going to be doing right now is layering color over top of each other. You can see that you're starting to get a 3D form, and I'm just using complementary colors and layering color over top of each other in acrylic to get the 3D form. First I had green, then I added red to the bottom here. Come on, focus. And then I started adding white, and then I realized I didn't have a counter, and for some reason it wasn't recording, so now we're doing it again here. So this time I flipped the script. I used red as the background like a circle, and I'm going to use green for my over color. This is something that using complementary colors is something a lot of artists have done to get the effect they want, to make another color more intense or to create shadow. Now, if you look at something and kind of blink, you'll see the complementary color. You're going to try it, and it's going to be hard. It's not the easiest thing, but you'll see the complementary color as you blink. So we want to just create form. We want to create the illusion that this sphere right here, is a two-dimensional or a three-dimensional object. So as complementary colors go, they're color opposites. So it's the opposite colors in the color wheel. So I tell the middle schoolers it's football at Christmas time, like the Vikings playing the Bears. So Vikings are yellow and purple, Bears are orange and blue, and Christmas, of course, is red and green, which is what we got here. Maybe this will help. It still spazzes. All right, so you can see here I got my paint, and you can see it's liquidy. It is not, I'm going to tell you this all the time, it's heavy-bodied so that you can stretch out the paint. Paint should be a kind of a liquid form when you paint. You should add water to it. This has plenty of water to it. And I'm going to put it on my palette. So if I need to change the color or add something to it, I can. You should add the color on the palette, not in the cups. The cups is just to hold the paint that you're using. The palette is to fine tune the colors that you are using. So first step, always like a dart, like you're throwing my brushes into a dartboard. That's pretty much how normally they tell you the proper way to hold a brush. Again, no scrubbing. No scrubbing. That will make Mr. Roate wear his grumpy pants, and nobody wants that. 3, you should not go back and forth unless you are, like the tips, see here, you should not go this way unless you're creating a straight line. So if I start off by trying to create a straight line, I can go that way. Now, science tells us that light bounces and refracts. And in art, we have to do the same thing because we are emulating, we are copying what real life is. So, you don't want your darkest dark to be right on the edge of the circle. Why? Is because normally, I've seen a lot of horror movies. If an orb is like floating in the air, then it's time to get out of the house. Most orbs, most spheres do not float in the air. They're normally on a surface. The light is coming and hitting the surface where the lightest point is, and some of the light is coming behind it and then bounces off that surface. And as it bounces off, it bounces and hit here and bounces off that. Like if you go in a small room and you throw a super ball really hard, imagine that is light, and it hits one wall, then it bounces off one wall, hits the ceiling. That's how light reacts. And the more that it's moving, it will slow down and eventually stop because, friction or whatever. So, I am putting this on pretty wet right now. I will eventually get to the dry brushing part of it because I want this part to be the darkest. When we get to dry brushing, I'm going to dip my stuff in here. I'm going to take off the excess so I can get a lighter color, so I can get that red to peek through. Okay, to peek through so I have a nice gradient of color. And I can control where my highlights are a little bit better. Okay. And this is not going to be one layer. A lot of times you think an artist may work with just one layer. They don't. It's a lot of layers. So it may look amazing and nice, but a lot of times it took a lot of different times reworking a surface to get it to where the artist wanted it. Notice I'm moving my brush back and forth. I'm also moving it in a fashion that's in a circular motion to get the form of the sphere. You want to keep in mind how you are moving your brush because you want to create that form of whatever you are painting. Okay. Now you can go in, once you're done, you can highlight it with white if you want to. I suggest this kind of thing to highlight it with. And again, I can start with just a dab. And then I can move it around and layer over top of some of my colors to get that effect. Notice I'm not scrubbing, I'm painting. So let's just put that right there. And come back here, add a little bit of highlight on the back side, a little bit of dry brushing. Okay, and you can kind of see it taking form and taking shape. There we go. All right. And there I have my sphere.